Hey, what if I told you that every war is already over? Well, you'd probably say something like, do you have dents in your skull? Well, yes, but that's besides the point.
Every soldier on the battlefield is a dead man walking. Every tank and gun is already scrap metal, and the global arms market is turning towards a technology which is going to make the advent of mechanized warfare look like a Sunday picnic by comparison. And it all hinges on a little plan that goes something like this.
I am not a subtle creature. Of course, I am talking about drone warfare. Early attempts at drone warfare were, some weird stuff. It was like the atomic bomb development. Everyone had a program for it. Everyone kind of knew it was coming to market, but it was more a matter of who could build it and build it for a cost-effective amount first, and it turns out no one could. Then, of course, in the 1960s through the 2000s, drone technology was mostly used in missile guidance systems. Then, finally, in the 2010s, we got the offensive combat drones that we all know and love, the ones that would circle over an area, collect recon, and then finally, if they decided that you were being too much of a threat to democracy, turn you into a red mist. Now, before we go any further, I do need to break one thing down, and that is the view of conflict as a comparison of information points. Let's say that you are in some form of conflict. It happens to the best of us. Okay, now, considering that you are in a dust-up against me, well, that's a problem. Let's say that you're working with 10 soldiers and 1 tank, and I have the exact same amount of soldiers and tanks. You're coming from a flat area, I'm coming from a mountainous area. So, how do we start this brawl? Well, I could send my soldiers up against your soldiers. Yeah, sure. I don't like that 50-50, so I start sending my tanks after some of your soldiers. And then with that combined force, we can hit your soldiers before they ever have a chance to retaliate and knock them out, have a good number of my soldiers and my tank left over by the time that your tank catches up to the battlefield. Now it gets fun. So, you completely withhold your soldiers from the battlefield. And while my guys are looking for them, they both mount a combined ambush. Okay, maybe that's bullshit. Maybe we call off the combined offensive, and instead, we immediately start fighting on your tank. You don't like that. You put 5 soldiers on this tank, and then another 5 to ambush my tank. Either way, we're trying to get my tank out of play before it can ever reach your tank. Do you see what I'm getting at here? We're comparing information systems to one another. We're choosing linkages between each other's components to create new additions of information. So it's just quantifying data and comparing it to other data points to give you an unfair advantage. But we'll get to that. So there's a data point here that no one's using, and that's terrain. So my guys are geared up for the mountains. Your guys are geared up for plains. Okay, so what if I retreat my forces into the mountains to cause problems for you? So that is how war evolves. That's the fundamental information system of conflict. If you ever find yourself going to officers' college, first, please unsubscribe, and second, you can throw this up on the board to make you look like you know what you're talking about. When you look at it this way, where eventually someone's going to start using tanks or using their terrain because they're tired of losing so many soldiers, you begin to see how war evolved, how it has evolved, where it's going, and you start to see that drones were not some Pandora's box. They were an inevitability. Why use a bow when a bullet flies straighter? Why fire a gun when a missile can find the target better and at a longer range? And why launch a missile when a drone carrying 3 grams of explosives can do just as much damage to your information system right where it starts? The guidance system, the targeting that makes my thing go from over here to over there, that is tantamount to the introduction of industrial warfare. I will call it here and now. That's my bet. This will change warfare as much as the machine gun. Oh, and like I said, these things are cheaper than ever before. Dajiang Innovations, or DGI, can tell you that much. And finally, there's another bit of recent development that makes this special little nightmare such fun. Operation Spiderweb. So obviously the Z is the symbol of the Russian forces, and if I draw the symbol of the Ukrainian forces, I get kicked off of YouTube. You kind of expect this border to be static, you know? We fight along the border. Something different happened in Operation Spiderweb. Ukrainian forces said screw the border and had a drone base on enemy territory, deploying them onto air bases hundreds of miles away from the front line. This is new. That's a new precedent being formed right there. Everyone knew this could happen, but everyone was too scared to do a deep territory strike. Okay, if the Russians have a single brain cell, they will start launching deep strikes from within Ukraine.
Russia did that. While I was recording this video, they're doing that.
What happens next? Well, it gets worse. Now, the United States has not given drones lethal capacity. It still has to be a human operator pulling the trigger. But what happens when some group of zealots, weirdos, or our greatest ally, for example, decides to let the gun pull its own trigger? What then? That sets a brand new precedent, just like deep strikes just did, to let any combatant who really wants to set a cloud of malignant killing machines loose on the battlefield. No one wants to open Pandora's box until someone does. Did you notice that a couple months after Ukraine did the whole deep strike operation, Israel did the same thing? And it's not because they're buddy-buddy and sharing the playbook, it's because everyone had this playbook for years. Everyone knew that this was the playbook, but no one was willing to take the first shot. And I won't say where, but I know of private actors who are legally building autonomous weapons platforms. It's real, it's out there. I'm not saying where, but it's out there. The refusal to use lethal force in those systems is a temporary moral hurdle, and one to which zealots, cranks, and greatest allies are not subject. The rules of engagement are out the window. War crimes? Screw them. What's the UN gonna do? Wave a stern finger? Or any given government, any private actor can build slaughter bots. What the hell is a slaughter bot? Slaughterbots is a short film from a few years back, and it follows the premise of an arms company building a tiny, commercially available drone right about yay big, and having it target enemy opposition right where it starts. Naturally, that goes super well, and everyone has a great day because of that. In essence, it's a small, self-targeted, unmanned aerial vehicle with some form of payload, usually explosive. War is not going to be a place for human beings in 25 years, and people would say that about World War I. Like I said earlier, in World War I, the bullets couldn't steer. Oh, and the idea that territory is going to matter, like we hold this national border, or we have this side of the border, so it's all okay now, that's stupid. After the spiderweb paradigm, territory doesn't exist. You can send a shipping container full of drones into my space and start buzzing out drones into my territory as you like. Oh, and this section is titled, the scary part. These things are not possible to ban, and every government knows it. I mean, sure, you can put a law on the books and say it is illegal to kill people. Sure. Yeah, that stops criminals. All the time. You've got examples like just the DJI incident page alone, with stuff like someone dropping radioactive sand onto the Japanese PM's roof after the Fukushima disaster. So I hope it's somewhat obvious that this doesn't get better on its own. I know that in the past we've always been able to count on our government to make everything better, but just hedging against that, how do we take down a drone? Before we go much further, I want to talk to you about why it is actually perfectly moral to pick a fucking drone out of the sky with your grandpappy's hunting shotgun. Don't do that. That's not legal inside of most city limits. So we need to talk about defense. And let's just say, for example, that I'm killing you. I'm in an alleyway with a knife to you, and I'm saying, give me your shit, or I'm gonna such and such and such and such. So at this point, you mount your defense. So our first option is to level defensive force that is less than the offending force. You might as well just give up. This is a guaranteed way to lose 100% of the time. So your odds for survival drop to 0%. Good job. In the state of California, you are supposed to do this. You have to keep fleeing, and only if you are backed into a corner can you level defensive force that's equal to the offensive force. Don't do that. This is called a coin flip. It gives you a 50% chance of living and a 50% chance of dying. I'm holding a knife to you right now, and you pull out your own knife because you don't think I should be doing that. What do? I level greater force. I cause more problems. I do you more physical harm. Or barring that, you get into a knife fight with someone and you both... Look, it's well known that no one actually wins a knife fight. This is how you lose. So, my theory of conflict is that any defensive force you level should be greater than the offensive force. Someone is flying a drone over my house? Well, I use my drone jammer cannon and I take them out of the sky. I don't give them the chance to escalate force and put me in this lethal 50-50. You've attacked me and decided that you're going to have the implied 100% majority force up here. So instead, I'm going to take that from you and give you an implicit 0% majority force. So in the case of our little alleyway dust up, instead of putting up with my bullshit, you should ventilate me. You give yourself the 100% advantage before I can ever try to take that 100% advantage for myself. Seems simple enough to me. The entire state of California's legal system doesn't agree, but, you know, if I followed the law in the state of California, I'd have more than a few felonies under my belt by now. So, bearing this in mind, how do we defend ourselves against drone systems? So there are raw kinetics, shotguns, missiles. It's even stuff like lasers where you can burn out a guidance system or turn a camera's optical sensor into some photosensitive mush. Then you have stuff like electronic warfare and jamming. But if I just build my own drone and use my own frequency, it's not that much of a problem, you know. Oh, and jamming's not terribly effective either, because if you jam my drone, it just makes logical sense that I should, put some dead man's switch on it. Oh, and then there is, of course, EMPs, which has the same problem I mentioned before. If I put a fail open switch on my drone, you're screwed. All of those methods kinda suck. My way is better than kinetics. Your fundamental problem here is the guidance system. It's the system that takes the payload and sends it to your location. So, instead, we use a second guidance system to take the first guidance system and tell it to kick rocks. Backpack-mounted self-guided laser cannons, kamikaze counter-drone drones. The list quite literally goes on here. You want to launch a $7,000 bomber platform drone to drop munitions on my troops? Too bad. I send a $3,500 foldable cardboard drone with a single hand grenade at your ass. Oh, and you don't stop at the battlegrounds. Screw with supply lines, send in bad motors. Ukraine just got found out for sending in explosive FPV headsets that would detonate on Russian pilots' faces. Basically, make it too expensive to fight a war against you and make peace the more viable economic option. What I'm saying is that we need to make war hell again. And even then, if you make peace so cheap, so easily available, you push propaganda to the enemy that says, hey, enemy civilian, your government, they can have peace tomorrow. They're not going for it. You outsource it to the enemy's own people. Oh, and on that topic, just speaking of that easy peace that makes war impossible, isn't it strange how not a single government on earth in any war will try for that peace as long as there is a conflict into which they can shovel their people. Isn't that funny? Oh, and make war hell again. Okay, we're done here. If I can get 10,000 subscribers by the end of this year, I swear to God, I will make a red ball cap that says, "Make war hell again." I will. Make this happen for me. Alright, thanks for your time. Bye now.